I drove over 350 miles to buy this poorly photographed Stagg drum kit off of eBay, and when I got there it ended up including this incredible steam bent single piece shell Highwood snare drum along with some lovely Zildjian and Dream cymbals. And in this video I'd like to work out whether or not Stagg ever made a good drum kit and find out more about this incredibly rare snare drum. And so you join me upstairs in the studio, and there are a few things that we need to talk about with this kit because it's not all as it seems. First of all, this kit is almost certainly not standard. All of the other kits of its model that I found online do not have these die-cast steel hoops. They all have pressed hoops, and I thought, wow, you know, Stagg have put some die-cast hoops on their kit. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, they've made some effort there to make it a nice kit. And remember, these are actually maple shells. That's probably the best selling point of this. If you want some maple shells for like 150 quid, then there you go and get one of these. But before you do, there's a few other things I need to mention. First of all, this kit has actually possibly been looked over by the guys at Highwood Drums, and I know that because one of the co-owners who built the snare drum that came with this kit, he said that he thinks they had it in and changed the bass drum spurs, reason being that the old ones were not very good. The tom brackets as well, we have a problem here. You may notice that I've set this up at a silly angle, and there's good reason for that. And that's because I wanted the tom brat here so that I can put the snare drum on and play the kit. But if I do put it where I want it, then this happens. Yeah, you see, that's not very good. That is as tight as it will go, and it's just not having it. Now, I did have a spare drum with this kit. It's a different colour, but what I'm going to see if I can do is change over the bracket because it did come with the other bracket. So if the other drum stays in place on here, then I'll switch over this tom bracket here. If it does not, then I'm going to have to put gaffer tape on it, which is what was on it when I got it, sadly. So not great. I'm also going to try this drum on this other arm here, because it's meant to have been obviously a 5 shell, or maybe they just didn't provide a single tom bracket for a 4 shell, I'm not sure. Maybe there's a drum missing, or maybe they just only made one item. So here is the extra drum that I got with the kit, and as you can see it's a different colour, but it is the same model, and of course it doesn't have those nice die-cast hoops on it. So what I'm going to see if I can do is just basically find out if this bracket on that one is any better than this one. They're identical, but this one just does not seem to want to tighten up as much. So if I can switch them over, that would be great. Maybe it would just hold in place a little better. Let's just try it on there. There is still some gaffer tape on this bracket here. Obviously that's what they needed to make it work. You know, this drum kit reminds me a little bit of how when I was in woodwork at school I made an automata. You know, you spin the little thing and the man on the top moves up and down a little bit like he's on some waves. And technically it worked, and I took it home and showed my parents and I was like, oh, that's great, you know, when I was 11, that was brilliant. But I feel like if everybody was to come into the house and go, give us a go on that automata, and they spin the little man and he moves up and down, that after the sort of 5th or 6th person, the little man probably would just disintegrate into a pile of MDF and bits of glue. And I kind of feel like it's similar with this kit because although it works, it's okay. I mean, that bracket is still not very good. Look at that. It's not great, is it?
There's also a slightly odd thing going on here because, can you see the badge is over the floor tom bracket? It's like just above it. I've never seen that on a kit before. I know this is really nitpicky here, but if I was to have my floor tom legs lower, which, you know, I may do, then it covers over the badge. I know it doesn't matter, like it doesn't matter at all, but I just thought it was weird. Okay, so I've set up the kit in its entirety. We've got these lovely Dream Bliss 14-inch hi-hats here. They sound pretty nice, to be fair. I have heard though, a few people say in the comments that some of the Dream cymbals will sound amazing and some of them will just not quite be up to the same standard. So I don't know if it's maybe like a quality control thing or if maybe
people's tastes, you know, just fluctuate so much, but I've had quite a few people say it actually. So if you're gonna look at Dream cymbals yourself, it might just be worth going and testing the exact cymbals that you're going to play, rather than just sort of going, I like those ones, I'll just get a pair of those. All high-end cymbals are gonna differ slightly in weight. You know, they're gonna be measured in grams, and they're gonna differ up to quite a few grams. So it is always worth just checking the exact cymbals that you're gonna buy anyway, rather than just assuming that you'll like every single set of the same model. Next we've got this 16-inch Dark Crash K as well. Yeah, it's nice. I like it. It's not as loud as I thought it would be, actually. I mean, maybe it's just this snare drum seems particularly loud, actually. But let's move on to this sweet ride anyway. Again, very, very nice. Like it a lot. I like a larger ride cymbal. I think they're nice. I'm still having some trouble with this tom, you know. It's moving around. Even I've tightened it at the bottom here, and it's still moving around. It's just the tom post is crap, to be honest. It's really not good. Also, because of the issue of because I've had to angle it, the tom is a lot further over than I'd like, which is pushing the ride cymbal over as well. It's just really not good, to be honest. The bass drum, I like it. It's a bit too ringy for me, particularly my style of playing. I'm not a jazzer. I just find it's just going on forever. That said, in the style, I actually think it works quite well. So what I'd like to do now is to dampen the bass drum slightly. I'm just going to put a blanket in front of it, and then I'm also going to tune the snare up a little bit because I just want to see what it's got left in it. It sounds wonderful. Yeah, very, very nice indeed. I think it's a lovely drum. I would have preferred it to be 10 lug, but that's just because I'm used to the nicer snare drums being 10 lug. It probably makes no difference in this case. The rim's nice as well. Yeah, it's good. So let me change that bass drum a little bit, and then we're gonna do some more playing. Right, I've literally chucked a blanket in front of it. Should just muffle a little bit of the resonance. It's not something I've done before, I just thought I'd try it out. But also, let's just bring the resonant head up a little bit. Got these lovely 42-strand snare wires. We've got the Evans Hazy 300 on the bottom as well. I think that's a really thin resonant head. Obviously, they should all be thin anyway. I think the thing that's confusing me the most about this Stagg kit is that I don't really understand who it's for. You see, you would think with the maple shells that Stagg were trying to go for a slightly higher end of the market, but without replacing the necessary brackets to make them gig worthy and make them long lasting, it just seems like the kit doesn't really know its own identity. I think that it looks pretty good. It's got this nice lacquered finish, although granted there are some parts of the wood that I think maybe wouldn't have been used on more premium kits. There are some quite big blemishes and dark patches on the outside inside, just underneath the lacquer. But I like the two-tone hoops, I like the sizes, I do really think it sounds good, and I think that the shells themselves are really nice, but it's just the fittings that let it down. And I don't believe that you have to spend a fortune to get good quality drum gear. Hopefully this channel is sort of part of the proof of that. And I only paid £312.70 for this entire kit with everything, which I think is an absolute bargain. Yet again, it was poorly photographed, as the best deals often are, I find, on eBay, and everything else on the kit is far better than the kit itself. That said, it's clearly been loved at some point, and it's definitely been set up by somebody who knew what they were doing. Tuning is excellent. As I said, it holds its tuning very, very well, which is really, really good. It means the bearing edges are probably good and the lug boxes are probably okay as well. I'm sure that these die-cast hoops are helping out no end because, of course, they don't flex like the cast ones, like the pressed ones would have. And it's got good heads on it as well. It's got some nice, well-chosen heads as well with the coated that suit the jazz kit a little bit more. So somebody's like understood and known what they were doing with this, but at the same time, it's like everything else is so good. Why haven't you got a better shell pack? Because it would just, you know, if you put this setup but with different shells, like, I mean, you could easily call this like, you know, a good couple of £1,000 setup, like with some nice quality shells, or even more than that, and also like nicely, tastefully picked as well. You know, with the K and with the Dream Bliss hi-hats. I like the fact the cymbals don't match. I think that tells me that somebody's picked them because they like them, rather than just because they thought, oh, they'll all look nice if they match. I really think that's a good thing to do. Stagg. I'm just a little bit baffled by it, and I'm a little bit disappointed in it. I just hoped that Stagg might have done a little better than that, but I just can't bring myself to recommend them. So it's now been a couple of weeks since I filmed everything that you've just seen, and in a second I'll tell you how much I made on this entire deal. But before I do, I want to talk briefly about that Highwood snare drum, because it was a really unusual find, and I've actually had some great correspondence from both of the co-founders of Highwood Drums, particularly Gareth Healy, and he tells me that the drum that I had was made between 2006 and 2010, and he gave me a little bit of information about the manufacturing process as well. He said it's a single plant of wood, rolled and lapped just like a Craviotto or a Noble and Cooley drum. He said that we offered them in maple, but also mahogany, cherry, which is what mine was, 14 by 5.5 inch cherry with maple inlays. They also did walnut and occasionally exotic wood, he says, if we found the right piece. So you can see that these were very much bespoke made drums. They weren't simply off the shelf jobs. He said that they were great drums, and they even have a few shells left even now. They basically kept the tooling, and occasionally they build up old stock, though he says we've only got a few left now. Apparently they also made 6 to 10 kits, full kits in the same way, so I can imagine that they are absolutely gorgeous. He also sent me a price list from June 2008, and the drum that I had would have been around £499 back in 2008. Let's talk now though about how much I made on the whole deal. So remember, I paid £312. I actually had a £5 off voucher on eBay, so really it was 307, even better. And I basically have managed to sell everything apart from the DW throne, which had cross-threaded at the top, so I need a new bolt for. The Stagg kit is still here, however it has been sold, and the new owner is aware of the tom holder issues, which is great. I of course listed it in the description with faults. I managed to get £140, you may have seen that earlier on in the video, and that was with the pearl hardware, which admittedly I could have sold separately, maybe got a few more pounds. I just couldn't be bothered, to be honest. So £140 back. I got £100 for the Dream Bliss hi-hats, the 14s. Lovely cymbals. They just don't really fetch the same money as a second-hand Zildjian, but granted, they don't cost the same money as a brand new Zildjian, so I don't think that's too bad at all. I got £200 for the 21-inch sweet ride, which I thought was really good. I got £155 for the K Dark Crash, which I think is what it was called, and it's a strange name. I got £33 for the pearl pedal, which of course I did split from the set. That wasn't the same era as the hardware. It was a much newer pedal and quite a nice one indeed, in good condition. And then the Highwood snare drum I got £300 for, which I thought was pretty good, both for the buyer and for myself. It means that in total I turned over £990
£128 and I profited £616, which is almost triple my money. Of course there'd be probably £30 of fuel, maybe a little more actually, to Lancaster, and it did take me around 7 hours to get it, and I could have got there and the cymbals would have been cracked or whatever, and the snare drum might have been something totally different, because of course I couldn't tell from the photos, but in this case I did remarkably well and I'm super pleased. So make sure that you subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see some more drum content from me in the future. And I will quickly say this before I go, that the kit behind me there, that's an upcoming video, and well, it only cost me £1. So make sure you follow me on Instagram if you want to see some more behind the scenes at Harry Weston C. And I'll see you again in a fortnight's time for some more drum content. Bye bye for now.